covering sports for 30 years. It's one thing for an exhibition here, there, whatever, but you can't continue to be allowed to build a career without getting into the ring with fighters. And if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, Shannon.
But does ultimately boxing get damaged?
Well, I think so. But I think boxing damages itself left, right, and centre. But I think the reputability and the credibility of some of these boxing sanctioning bodies is poor anyway.
Nobody can knock him for this. This is now business. This is business. For Jake Paul, absolutely crazy. Jake Paul is a domestic level professional fighter here in the UK.
Stephen A. Smith attacks the announcement, saying Jake Paul has never treated boxing with the seriousness the sport deserves. He says Jake's career has been built on easy shows and opponents who were never real threats, including retired fighters and people long past their best years. Smith believes this pattern disrespects boxing. In the fight with Anthony Joshua,
He continue to get away with stepping into the ring against strikers for the UFC, basketball players, unknown boxers.
Simon. Jordan shares strong concerns about the Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul fight, saying the matchup exposes major problems in today's boxing. He says business goals now matter more than the sport's honesty, making fighters and promoters chase attention and money instead of real competition. Jordan warns that when boxing becomes more about entertainment than skill, it risks losing the respect it built over decades. He tells fans and experts that matchups like this, even if profitable, can set bad examples for young fighters and damage the sport's reputation. Jordan adds that the fight shows a worrying trend where money matters more than the actual challenge. He believes this matchup is driven by headlines, social media buzz, and ticket sales, not real competition. He says, using a star like Joshua to boost someone who hasn't faced serious opposition weakens boxing's credibility.
Jordan, to me, is everything that's wrong with boxing. It's a money play, nothing wrong. I don't begrudge Anthony Joshua getting 50 million quid for an easy night's work. That's fantastic returns. Most people would take it. But from the boxing world, Jake Paul is now a professional fighter. Whether we categorise him as a YouTuber or not, he's licensed to fight, which means that the governing body should be suggesting that this is not a fight that possibly they should be looking to sanction.
Yeah.
But they will, because the sanctioning fees will be enormous. Anthony Joshua will not lose his legacy like some people are suggesting, because no one will remember it in 2 or 3 years' time. If he embarrasses himself in there, they'll remember it. If he goes in and knocks him out in 30 seconds flat, or turns it into a little bit more of a sort of Jake LaMotta, Raging Bull, holding him up for a few rounds and then knocking him out, then people will forgive it. He'll get a big bag of money, which most people in the world would take, and move on. And then we'll see if he fights anybody meaningful in the year. I mean, it is like sport has become. And what I got my head around on Saturday night was the entertainment value of Conor Benn and Chris Eubank. The fighting of itself, I could be all pious about it, but the entertainment industry is so prevalent in sport now. This is entertainment. This is going to have hundreds of millions of people watching it. Of course. And Anthony Joshua gets paid, and Jake Paul hopefully gets flattened.
Simon, I know the money's there, but does ultimately boxing get damaged?
Well, I think so. But I think boxing damages itself left, right, and centre. But I think the reputability and the credibility of some of these boxing sanctioning bodies is poor anyway. But I think it does get damaged.
Even if it's an exhibition fight, which it might well be.
Well, then what's the jeopardy in that? If it's an exhibition fight, which it shouldn't be, if it's a proper fight, then Jake Paul is going to get...
He's going to get destroyed. Johnny Nelson shares his opinion, calling the fight extremely risky and completely wild. He says this is not a regular crossover fight. It is a serious match with real danger and heavy consequences. Nelson respects Jake Paul's bravery, but questions the choice to face a proven heavyweight champion. He says the shocking part is how serious the fight truly is. This is not an exhibition, and mistakes could have major effects. Nelson's reaction shows the mix of excitement, fear, and curiosity in the boxing world. Nelson also says Jake Paul is a different kind of fighter. While Jake has shown skill and confidence before, Nelson says his past opponents were nowhere near Joshua's level. He sees Jake's courage as
because of Anthony Joshua's desire to be in the history books, to be a 3-time heavyweight champion of the world. To me, it shows me his desire. Pick up 50 million along the way. Nobody can knock him for this. This is now business. This is business. For Jake Paul, absolutely crazy. Jake Paul is a domestic level professional fighter here in the UK. Would he win a British title? No, I don't think so. So now they're putting this domestic level fighter in with a former heavyweight 2-time champion of the world. The weight is 245. So I think last time Anthony Joshua weighed around that was when he boxed Usyk. That means he's got to be fight fit on point, because his last fight he was 18 stone. I think it was 254 against Danny Dubois. So now he basically saying you've got to get yourself in position, get yourself fit, and get yourself ready for fight. It's not tiddlywinks. This is a fight. It's not a push and a pull, So as long as it's not a push and a pull, and don't put me down and don't touch me in the build up to this fight. Remember when McGregor and Mayweather, they had this little side deal, don't touch me in the build up to this. If this is a real legitimate fight, Jake Paul is absolutely crazy. If not crazy, he's super brave, and it'll be interesting to see.
Well, what do you think? Yeah, because you said that before when we spoke about it being a proper fight or not. And Eddie Hearn and Paul's promoter, Nakisa Badarin, have both said in the last couple of days it will be a proper fight. And now you've heard the details, 8 rounds, 3 minutes a round, 10-ounce gloves. Do you believe it when they say that it's going to be a proper fight?
I do believe it because AJ is involved, and I think AJ would struggle to. He's going to take enough flack over this, but again, it's money talk. So I think AJ will struggle because it is an Owen situation. If he goes in there, Jake Paul lasts the distance. What does he tell you about AJ? Apart from he's just earned an extra 15 million quid. If he goes there and struggles with Jake Paul, then what's he say about AJ? Your heydays are well and truly over. If he goes in there and knocks him out, then I'll say that's to be expected. So the glory, there's probably not much glory in it, apart from the haters of Jake Paul to say, right, we've got rid of this kid. I think it's very brave of Jake Paul. So now the problem child has got to believe this fight.
Tony Jeff gives a practical view, saying anything is possible in boxing. He explains that training, discipline, the right mindset can sometimes close the gap, even when fighters have big differences in age or experience. Jeff mentions that Jake is younger than Joshua, which might help with energy and recovery. But he admits Jake is not yet close to Joshua's technical skill. Still, Jeff says Jake has improved a lot, and with the right plan and effort, surprising results can happen because boxing is unpredictable. Jeff also points out Jake Paul's strong work ethic, saying he has shown great commitment while preparing for tougher fights. He says that although Jake's skills do not match Joshua's, his dedication cannot be ignored. Jeff believes the difference between them is smaller than people think, noting that focus, training, and discipline can reduce physical disadvantages.
Time, where Anthony Joshua, on the other hand, is, but I'm not going to say he's coming into his prime because he had some great wins earlier on in his career before he lost to Usyk twice. And by the way, when he did lose to Usyk, the last one was a split decision. It was a pretty close fight. So now this fight is matched, and I just want to look at the tail of the tape. Now, looking at the age difference, we've got 28 years old compared to 36 years old. So I guess the advantage there goes a little bit towards Jake Paul. 28-year-old is better than a 36-year-old. But that being said, we've got talking about experience and everything else, what comes with being 36 years old at Anthony Joshua's level. And then, like I mentioned, the heavyweights kind of seem to prime a little bit older. Now, come down to the height and the weight. This is the big one. 6'1" versus 6'6". 200 pound versus 252 pound. We got a 252 pounder in Anthony Joshua. The reach advantage is a lot, which we would expect. Amateur fights, we can see that Jake's only had one, where AJ's had 43, but 43 of them are including at the highest level, Olympic level. And yes, he won the Olympic bloody gold medal, if I don't need to remind you. Then the pro record, Jake Paul has had 13 fights, lost 1. AJ has had 28 fights and he's lost 4 with 25 KOs. And the one person that Jake Paul lost to was Tommy Fury. Now, can we compare Tommy Fury with Anthony Joshua? Not at all. It's like night and day. So now I'm going to talk about the rules of this fight, and I'll give you my prediction, which is going to shock a lot of people after this. So, what are the rules? The bout will take place at a heavyweight, obviously. It's going to be 8 3-minute rounds. You might think, well, that's better for Jake.
Sonnen says, Jake Paul's critics will finally see the real level of competition he faces when he fights a true professional. Sonnen says this fight will show whether Jake's wins came from carefully chosen opponents, or if he truly belongs in real boxing. He believes the fight will serve as a reality check, giving fans, experts, and the boxing world a clear answer. Sonnen presents the matchup as a major moment for judging Jake's career and the effect of crossover boxing. Sonnen also says this fight is a major test not only for Jake Paul, but for how people view the sport. He says facing a world-class heavyweight will put Jake under strong judgment from boxing experts and experienced fighters. This attention will show whether Jake's wins came from real skill or from facing weaker opponents. Sonnen says this hard
takes for Jake Paul to do this, as well as for Joshua. You know, this isn't Joshua's first time doing a spoof fight. He fought Francis. That was a spoof fight. Francis had never won boxing before, but we understood he has fought before. It was one of those things where when you got through it, like coming into the front side, I'm sure Anthony Joshua trained plenty hard for it. But coming out the back, he probably realized I didn't need to train for that at all. That was fun. That was a good time. I got to hear him call my names. I got to go out there. I got to be light on my feet. I got to lay on these combinations and then cut an interview and pump my hands over my shoulders like I accomplished something. What dreams are made of. And so Joshua did one of those fights. It was with Francis, and this is a completely different kind of that type of fight, but it's still that fight nonetheless. Jake Paul has abilities to win this fight. A lot of them involved moral victories. A lot of them involved getting out of the first round. And a lot of them would involve getting out of the first 2 rounds and haven't been knocked down yet. Want to be getting out of the 3rd round, you've only been on the canvas once, and you got up to your feet, you shook it off, and you're ready to keep going. Like, these things are all victories, but the fight that it's going to happen, I think it's a big deal for Jake Paul. I think it's a big deal for everybody involved. I think it's a big deal that Francis looks at that fight and realizes, oh, these things make sense. These things that make dollars, they make sense. That's his business. This was his opportunity that he missed out on. And now Joshua's going to have a lot of fun. And overall, I see the fight being one-sided. And people keep saying, well, slow down. Wait till you hear what all of the rules under exhibition clause mean. As long as they're throwing punches
on. Rafael focuses on Jake Paul's recent growth. He says Jake has improved since his fight with Tommy Fury, showing better technique, stamina, and strategy. But Rafael warns that even with this progress, Jake is still far below Anthony Joshua's elite level. He says the gap between a rising boxer and a proven heavyweight champion is huge, and fans should keep their expectations low. Rafael's view praises Jake's effort but stays honest about the tough challenge ahead, highlighting the long journey needed to reach world-class skill. Rafael adds that this fight will show both Jake's strengths and weaknesses. He says improvement is clear, but training cannot replace real experience against top heavyweights. The fight will test Jake's physical ability, decision-making, timing, and ability to adjust during the match. Rafael reminds people that boxing is more than athletic ability.
Victories in 2 fights. Those are so-called real fighters, but not for a long, long time. Chavez is a decade or so past when he was best, and Tyson had been retired 19 years and hadn't been, even when he was still an active fighter, hadn't been at his best over the last decade of his career. So they were guys with big names, but not threats. And the other fighters that he's faced have been a collection of either non-combat athletes, MMA fighters who've decided to come into boxing or had very limited experience in boxing. And then, a couple of guys in boxing that didn't have a lot of experience who were boxers, but had been off, for a long time. A couple of guys you never heard of before he fought those guys, and those guys you'll never hear of again. Of course, the fight against Tommy Fury, which I know he lost, but it was like a split decision, as my recollection says, and it was awfully close. And for my perspective is, whatever you think about it, Jake Paul certainly has gotten better since he fought Tommy Fury. He's certainly gotten better over the last number of fights. Now, is he at an elite world-class level? Probably not yet. He may never get to that level, but so you got to give him props. He's taken on a guy that I spend part of my morning talking to different boxing matchmakers, people I've known for decades in this business, who have vast experience of building fighters and moving fighters and developing them, and they know a lot better than you or me what they're looking at. And to a person, they were like, they don't understand why Jake took this fight, because they think it's, one person used the word of decapitation. So he's going to be a monstrous underdog against a massive puncher.
Carl Frock explains his view on the importance of the fight, saying it matters a lot for both fighters. He says Joshua's career is at a point where even one mistake could bring strong criticism, while Jake Paul's growing reputation depends on proving he can handle real, professional challenges. Frock says this fight is a turning point, a chance for Joshua to show stability, and for Paul to prove he is truly legitimate. His view highlights the mix of risk.
Paul is not a step in the direction of becoming world champion again. There's many people who could box. He's not going to make that kind of money. So let's just be honest with anybody else. So let's just be straight up honest about it. He's doing it all for the money. It's all about the money. I did say a year ago when he got splattered by Daniel Dubois that he's finished in boxing, he needs to retire. That's just my opinion. That's just my truth. I think he's done in heavyweight boxing at an elite competitive level. So that makes sense. I've been vindicated. He's now fighting fake Paul in what will be a massive mismatch. If this is correct and it's 10-ounce gloves in a professional boxing rules, 8 3-minute rounds, it's not going to go 2 rounds, is it? It shouldn't do. It shouldn't last a round. But we're going to have to wait and see, aren't we? It's hard to get your head around. It's hard to know what to say about this. AJ's obviously excited about it, about making some serious bunts. And Jake Paul's telling us that he's going to shut all the haters up by jumping in there with AJ. So what is actually going off? We're not going to know, are we, until the fight actually, till the first bell goes. We're not going to know what's actually behind all this. And we can't start throwing accusations of any sort of skullduggery going off, because we've got to take it at face value. It's not an exhibition, so nothing's pre-scripted. This is a professional boxing match that you can make bets on. So it's got to be a real fight. And if AJ goes in there with them little 10-ounce gloves on and throws the Ngannou 1-2 down the middle, I'm talking about the one that rendered Ngannou unconscious and almost snapped his leg. And Ngannou is a decent fighter in the cage. You know, he's a good MMA fighter. And you saw him, he took Tyson Fury, what did he take him, 8, 9, was it 10 rounds? Can't remember how long it was, but he took him the distance and lost a close decision. So he's quite capable, but AJ's a big punching heavyweight. And fake.
Ariel Helwani says concerns about Joshua's legacy being damaged are misplaced. He argues that taking a big fight like this is part of a professional athlete's business choices, and does not harm Joshua's reputation. Helwani says big paydays and attention are normal parts of boxing, and a well-planned fight can help both business and sport. He says fighting popular or unusual opponents is common today and reflects the mix of entertainment and competition. It's not a threat to legacy. Helwani adds that Joshua's decision to take this fight shows smart planning and adaptability. He says, choosing to fight widely known opponents does not reduce Joshua's accomplishments, but helps.
I do think that is how that would ultimately go, though.
What's your level of interest, Mr. Connor Burks? What do you think about this? How do you think people will receive this?
Mr. Connor Burks, yeah, I am very interested in it. I'm already seeing the tweets and Instagram posts online that people definitely want to see this fight happen if Jake Paul is going to fight anyone. I can't imagine a fight that would garner more interest. It's a legitimate boxer in Anthony Joshua who has massive wins on his resume. He's much bigger than Jake Paul. He is a global superstar, and also he's going to be a massive favorite in it. To me, it just makes sense from a standpoint of if you're Jake Paul and you somehow pull this off and you beat Anthony Joshua, you silence all the doubters out there. You beat a guy in Anthony Joshua that you're not supposed to beat. And then if you're someone that doesn't like Jake Paul, you want to tune in to see him get knocked out, you put it on Netflix. To me, it makes a ton of sense from a visibility standpoint, from getting the most eyes on it. Obviously, you're never going to top the Tyson thing just because of who Mike Tyson is, but right now, especially on short notice,